Malta, if you compare it with other countries, it's very different in the way that agriculture is practiced over here. Mainly that is because the limitations that the island has. It's in size, as in water supplies, as in soil depth, soil types, and also because most farmers here don't have, say, big chunks of land in one go. So they have one whole farm together, so to speak. It's more like a patchwork where they've got pieces here and there. Traditional agriculture, the Maltese traditional agriculture has changed heavily these last 40, 50 years. Seeing these changes mainly is a bit of a loss to a lot of the traditional old ways and traditions and how things used to be kept, grown and transcended from one generation to the other. And mainly this is happening because of technology which has been brought in to Malta, but hasn't been kind of married to the traditional methods. It's kind of more imposed on. Years ago, say 30 or 40 years ago, there was many more farms here in Malta. People used to understand the self-reliancy or self-sufficiency way of life much more. It was much more ingrained into the culture. People used to farm rabbits, backyard gardens, goats, and people used to be trading milk and cheese from goats and sheep, and there was a lot more cultivated orchards, gardens and small fields, and people used to rely on this much more. In recent years, and when Malta joined, before Malta joined the EU, but through even further now, there's been a lot more trade coming through all over the world, really, and so even here in Malta, a lot of crops have been imported on the island. So this kind of put more pressure on the people to say, what does it pay me to be growing these things, or does it pay me to have a job and pay a fraction of the money which otherwise I would have to buy these things if I had to do them or cultivate them myself. So basically all this impact where people started letting go of the land practices and the land farming and the stewardship to have a conventional job, a conventional way of life, make the money and buy imported stuff. The farmers which were left, basically at the time, the farms used to be cultivated and the nutrients that the soil needed were being absorbed from local animals, so to speak, and natural ways to rejuvenate the soil. But with the advent of artificial fertilizers and artificial pesticides, it kind of came in a way where there was a lot of misinterpretations. People weren't educated on how to use basically these artificial fertilizers, and you could buy them over the counter like you could buy nails or screws. So rather than, when you have farmers who are illiterate and basically they don't understand that kind of what is in that bottle, what is actually contained and what's it doing to the soil, what the repercussions are going to be a few years later, these people just started mixing doses, which it's a well-known fact here in Malta, for instance. If you are asked to put one measure, so to speak, with a 1 liter of water, automatically the old, so to speak, generated farmers used to think that maybe let's put 2 measures instead of 1 because that will work better. And this kept on going for years and years and years. So all this effect basically has built up into what we are facing now, that we've all got this residues of artificial pesticides everywhere in the soil and chemical related products basically.